Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Okay, over the years, I've mentioned several times that the U.S. is on the verge of losing its reserve status, and people are like, it's never going to happen, Pimpy. It's never going to happen. Yeah, it's happening. It's one thing if you're trying to go head-to-head against one other country for currency supremacy, but it's another when you're going against multiple nations. In the past, no one country would dare try to take over the top dog position as reserve currency in fear of dealing with the United States and their military. You saw what happened to Gaddafi as well as Saddam Hussein when they decided they were going to create a gold-backed dinar that they would use for oil trade. And then all of a sudden we're getting news that they're bad guys and we had to remove them and blah, blah, blah. There we go. This is what happens. But this time around, it's different. It's different in a lot of ways, and I'm going to show you here in just a moment. Usually when a country starts to lose its reserve status, there's usually a war before it's let go. And what I mean by that is this. You have one country who is the current reserve dollar, and there's an up-and-coming country who thinks they can take on the top dog, and they usually go to war. It's been happening since the 1400s, so this isn't new. I want you to keep that in mind as we go over some information here. People are going, oh, it's going to be China. No. It's not one country. It's multiple countries. And the United States is already, at least on a handful of these nations, screwing with them in many different ways. So obviously they don't want to give up the reserve status because they love being able to print money willy-nilly and make our politicians' pockets fat with no repercussions and no way to check on them and just become as criminal as possible. But that's about to stop because the BRICS nations are moving us into the gold standard one way or another. Let's get into this. Before we get started, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold, silver, or any other precious metals, head on over to our friends at Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description, or just type in www.moneymetals.com/Pimpy. If you make a purchase when you follow that link, you will automatically be entered for a chance to win 10 free silver ounces. So get started today, and hopefully your stack will start to look like this real soon. So head on over, tell them Pimpy sent you. You can follow me over on other platforms. I do have my own group over on Facebook called Pimpy's Investment Chat. Over here, we do talk about gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, as well as foreign currency investments. So head on over here and join us. It's free to do so. In here, I do post updates. If I should get on suspension from YouTube or get removed from YouTube and you want to know what happened to me, I'll let you know right here in this group. I can be found on Twitter, MeWe, YouTube, and the cool thing about YouTube, if you come over here and you join and you find my channel, I got videos going back, I believe, a couple years. So if you want to see some older videos that I have on Nasera, Jacera, gold, silver, cryptos, come on over here and join. Look me up and check out my videos. You can also find me on Odyssey. Catch me on Rumble. When I say that the links for all these are down below in the description, some of you don't know what I'm talking about. It's real simple. Just go down to the bottom right here of any of my videos. See this? This is the description. Hit show more. And there are all the links to all the platforms I just spoke about. So if you do want to head on over to Money Metals, just click it. And there you are. So come on over. Join us. I look forward to having you. So what's going to happen to the dollar if indeed they lose their reserve status? Let's take a look. The potential devaluation of the US dollar, if it loses its status as the reserve currency, is a complex and speculative topic. It is important to note that the reserve currency status of the United States dollar is not solely determined by economic factors, but also by geopolitical consideration and global confidence in the stability of the United States. Well, if you go around the schoolyard picking on everybody and fighting with them over and over, eventually what happens is you start to lose some of your friends. And some of your friends will start fighting back against you. This is what's happening. Look at France, those wusses. Look how quickly Macron turned on the United States and went straight over to BRICS. There's a perfect example. The impact of losing reserve status on the value of the US dollar would depend on various factors, including, but not limited to, the demand for the US dollar. As a reserve currency, the US dollar enjoys significant demand from central banks and international institutions for use in international trade and financial transactions. If it were to lose this status, the demand for the US dollar could potentially decrease, leading to a decline in its value. Of course, it would be a decrease. If you're forced to use the US dollar in trade and then all of a sudden you don't have to any longer, well, then you don't need to keep in your reserves such a large amount of US dollars. Those dollars are going to come back flooding into the United States and cause all kinds of problems. And like it says, the value is going to decline against other currencies. So if the US dollar starts to decline in value, what do you suppose is going to happen to the other currencies against the US dollar? Obviously, it will rise. If you are pegged to the US dollar, you're going to unpeg real quick. Investors' confidence. The reserve currency status of the US dollar reflects investors' confidence in the stability and strength in the U.S. economy. If this confidence were to erode due to loss of reserve currency status, investors may shift their holdings away from the USD dominant assets, which could put downward pressure on its value, and they will. Currency diversification. A loss of reserve status could prompt countries and institutions to diversify their foreign exchange reserves away from the US dollar and into other currencies such as the euro, yen, and yuan. This diversification could further weaken the value of the US dollar. These things will happen, all the things they're talking about. Interest rates. The Federal Reserve's ability to set interest rates is influenced by the US dollar reserve currency status. If this status were lost, it could potentially limit the Federal Reserve's control over domestic interest rates, which may have implications on inflation and economic stability. And that's why you're seeing the Fed do what they're doing right now with the interest rates. Global trade patterns. The reserve currency status of the USD facilitates international trade and investment. If it were to lose this status, there could be changes in the global trade patterns, potentially impacting economic growth and exchange rates. I can think of a couple of currencies right now that people would love to see a change in the exchange rate. So I've heard so many times people saying, Pimpy, it's not going to happen. People are controlling too much debt that's in US dollar. There's too much investment in the United States in US dollar. It's not going to happen. What you're not paying attention to is this. They're offloading their debt. They're paying their debt. In addition to that, all the debt that they have of the United States, they're selling as well. They're trying to de-dollarize as much as possible. So it's already in the process. In my opinion, if the United States was smart, and they're not, it's our government we're talking about here. The government is so greedy and so power hungry that there's no way they would make this move. The smart move would be to go straight to the gold standard and do it first, is what they should do. Not going to happen. If you're on the gold standard, that limits the power of our government. Right now, they're trying to facilitate the whole New World Order, World Economic Forum movement. If they lose their reserve currency status, it's over. You could kiss that sucker goodbye, thank God. Ex-NATO commander warns U.S. running low on ammo as Ukraine war drags on. Yeah, we're running low on ammo. I'll get to why that's important here in just a moment. U.S. Energy Secretary says it could take years to refill oil reserves after Biden depleted them. So why is that important? Well, whenever a country starts to lose its status as the reserve currency, you have, like I said, one that is the top dog, the ones that's current reigning champion, and then you have another country that comes up and says, we want to be the top dog, and usually a war breaks out. But it's kind of hard to have a war when your ammo is almost gone. In addition to that, all the oil reserves have been used up. And why did Biden do this? Well, one, he's a China puppet. But two, he depleted all the reserve status in order to try to keep gas prices low so you can stay popular amongst the citizens of the United States for re-election time. But the fact that we're running low on ammo is freaking ridiculous. This is clearly a threat to our national security. We ran low on ammo under Obama, replenished it under Trump, ran low again under Biden, or I should say Obama's third term. It's done this way on purpose. There are people within this country trying to destroy it from the inside out. So here we go in August. That's what they're talking about. BRICS gold-backed currency coming in August. Here we go. This is why you should be buying gold and silver now. Now's the time. So if you take a look at what's going on with everybody trying to sign that pandemic treaty, with people surrendering their overall sovereignty to one bureaucratic overlords, In addition to that, you don't have just one nation, but you have multiple nations fighting for the right to be the reserve dollar. As I stated before, the people who are the top dogs don't give that position up lightly, and there seems to be a lot of amping up of war talk happening right at the moment. Now you add in the fact that BRICS is saying they're going to introduce a new currency in August. Don't be surprised between here and August if something major doesn't happen that provokes us into war. Besides, they've been talking about thinning out the crowd a little bit. Nothing like a nuclear bomb drop to take care of that. About 2 months from today, the most significant development in international finance since 1971 will be unveiled. It invokes the rollout of a major new currency that could weaken the role of the US dollar in global payments and ultimately displace the US dollar as a leading payment currency and reserve currency. It could happen in just a few years. They're going to launch it this year, and it's going to take at least that long for the conversion to happen. The process by which this will happen is unprecedented, and the world is unprepared for this geopolitical shockwave. The monetary shock will be delivered by a group called the BRICS nations, and we know what BRICS stands for. This play for global reserve currency status by the BRICS will affect world trade, direct foreign investment, and investors' portfolio in dramatic and unforeseen ways. May I say this again, you need to move your money out of the bank, out of those bull crap stocks and stuff, and put them into gold and silver. The most important development in the BRICS system concerns the expansions of BRICS members. This has led to the informal adoption of the name BRICS for the expanded organization. BRICS Plus, I should say. Currently, there are 8 nations that have formally applied for membership and 17 others that have expressed interest in joining. So you can see the names of the countries right there. There's more to this list than just increasing the headcount at future BRICS meetings. If Saudi Arabia and Russia are both members, you have 2 of the 3 largest energy producers in the world under 1/10. The U.S., of course, is the other, but not under Joe Biden, who's changed that about us. If Russia, China, Brazil, and India are all members, you have 4 of the 7 largest countries in the world measured by landmass, possessing 30% of the Earth's dry surface, and related to natural resources. Almost 50% of the world's wheat and rice production, as well as 15% of the world's gold reserves, are in the BRICS. Meanwhile, China, India, Brazil, and Russia are 4 of the 9 highest population countries on the planet, with a combined population of 3.2 billion people, or 40% of the world's population. China, India, Brazil, Russia, Saudi Arabia have a combined GDP of 29 trillion, or 28% of normal global GDP. If one uses purchasing power parity to measure GDP, then the BRICS share is over 54%. Wow, that's huge, man. Russia and China also have 2 of the 3 largest nuclear arsenal in the world besides us. But every measure of population, landmass, energy outputs, GDP, food output, and nuclear weapons, BRICS is not just another multilateral debating society. They are substantially and credibly alternative to Western hegemony. BRICS acting together is one pole of new multipolar or even bipolar worlds. So when a new currency is launched in August, the currency will not fall on empty fields. It will fall into a sophisticated network of capital and communications. This network will greatly enhance its chances of success. The BRICS are also developing an optical fiber submarine telecommunications system that would connect its members. It is being developed under the name BRICS Cable. Part of the motivation for BRICS Cable is to foil spying by the U.S. National Security Agency on messaging trafficking carried through existing cable networks. What's behind the quest to ditch the dollar? In a small part, the answer is the world's weaponization of the dollar through the use of sanctions. On numerous occasions from 2007 to 2014, we were warned, U.S. officials, from the Treasury, Pentagon, and intelligence community that overuse and abuse of the dollar sanctions would lead adversaries to abandon the dollar to avoid the impact of sanctions. Such abandonment would lead to the diluted potency of the sanctions, unforeseen costs imposed on the U.S., and eventually the collapse of confidence in the dollar itself. These warnings were mostly ignored. And we got the worst damn president in the White House for this crap. We have now reached the first and second stages of this forecast and are dangerously close to a third. For years, the U.S. has used sanctions to punish nations like Iran, But the sanctions the U.S. and its allies imposed on Russia after it invaded Ukraine last year went far beyond previous sanction regimes. They were unprecedented. Of course, this is not surprising to me. This guy is controlled by China. Have you guys been paying attention? Well, the media doesn't really cover it, so you wouldn't know. You need to get on YouTube and look at independent journalists to learn this crap, man. Seriously. Anyways, this goes on to say we're in a bad situation. In a lot of ways, this is unavoidable. And why it is you should be owning gold and silver. Whether they're going to try to force us into the central bank digital currency, or whether we lose our status as the reserve currency and the dollar devalues, you want to make sure that you position yourself to be protected. You, your family, loved ones, pets, dogs, the whole 9 yards. The only way you can do that is by buying gold and silver. Anyways, that's it for now. Let me know what you think. I look forward to your comments, and I'll get back at you later. I'm out.